He rangine, aroha atu, aroha mai, tatui tatu katoa, huie takie. Welcome, counselors, for your LTP 101 workshop. This is the beginning of a year-long journey. It's actually a third of the way into an 18-month journey, but you're just joining us now to see it through to completion. The long-term plan is a statutory document that every term of council must do. It is the most public-facing document that puts you front and center out into the public. It sets the tone for your term in council and for the following term for what they begin, and you are actually setting up the framework for the next 10 years for this community's future. And beyond, depending on the type of projects or work programs that are approved as part of it. Our job as officers is basically to make you look good. We can't do that if you're invisible. So this is your document, this is your process, this is you fronting it, and we are here to support you and guide you and provide you with everything you need to make this a very successful long-term plan. Now, Timaru District Council has a rich history of having long-term plans for the past 15 years be in the top 10 around the country. Every council does this. Timaru's have been outstanding. They have won national awards. We intend to maintain that momentum. Luckily, we have got some expert knowledge that has been brought in to help support this, that three of us who are in here project managing the long-term plan and providing the support needed for this council have all been involved in long-term planning over a number of years. Some of them going back to when it used to be the LTCCP, back in the early days of the Local Government Act. And some of us have actually led long-term plans that have also won national awards. So you can rest assured you have the expertise and the support and guidance from people who know best on how to help you through this process. So I'd like to begin by just going through, I've used this before, what we hope to actually achieve today. We are looking at defining the local government requirements for the LTP. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them because I have given you comprehensive handouts to complement my 6-slide presentation, okay, which I'm going to go through expeditiously. That contains a lot more information in those handouts to flesh out the bones that you will see before you today. And I've also printed off sections of the Local Government Act, particularly Schedule 10, that gives you all the legislative requirements of what must be included in a long-term plan, and also the timing of some of the things, particularly with some of the policies, because they can be adopted before the long-term plan. We're going to introduce the LTP framework in which it actually operates. We'll discuss community outcomes and consider your strategic priorities. I'm going to present the LTP timeline that you've actually had in the report that was just at the recent commercial and strategy meeting. And we'll talk briefly about community consultation, a format and a timeline for that at a very high level. And we'll do a summary. The other thing we will also talk about is your reference group that you have resolved that we are going to establish. Okay. So the Local Government Act, you will actually find Schedule 10 that outlines in your handouts everything that must be included in the long-term plan. It defines what policies, what documentation, what strategies, what needs to go with the long-term plan, what section of the Local Government Act they must be consulted on, because we have two different types of consultation, One requires a full special consultative procedure, which is with the hearings, and we often do those ones in conjunction with the long-term plan. A lot of others don't require a full special consultative procedure, and we can often do those prior to the long-term plan. So there is a staged approach to this. You can feel free to look up the Local Government Act, because Schedule 10 refers to different sections. It just helps you to understand this isn't as one of those gray area kind of documents open to interpretation. We have very strict criteria we must stick to and we adhere to, and it's the same for councils all around the country. So hence the competition between councils is how we do it and how dynamic it is, okay? We've got various things that are going to impact the long-term plan. Now, we all know about the three waters. There is the 332-page report from the Select Committee over the Water Entities Bill that came out last week, and it has implications for our infrastructure strategy and the long-term plan. Now, I received it yesterday afternoon. I haven't had a chance to go through and analyze all 332 pages. I probably got to page 2 and thought, I'll do this later. Okay, but there are implications for us. We've got the future for local government, and we're very fortunate because Trudy, being the project sponsor of the long-term plan and helping to lead our team, is also involved with the future for local government review. She represents Timaru on that. It's a working group, isn't it, Trudy?
No, it's what I did at ICC, but it's all right. So
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
across it here.
Okay, yeah. I knew she was heavily involved in it. So we have some insider knowledge as to what's happening there, which is really good. We've got the general election coming up, and I'm not going to be one to predict the outcome, but I do know, being able to read the tea leaves, what a lot of people think is going to happen. That could impact on what's included or what's not included in our long-term plan. So we'll wait and see the outcome of that. We have dynamics that we have no control over, such as our population statistics. We have an aging population, we have inflation, we have the impacts of the changing environment due to climate change and how we manage those. But we also have areas of strengths, like our economic growth and development. That is a strong point for Timaru Council. We're ahead of a lot of other areas, and that is where our growth is in this community. It's not population, it's economic development. Okay. So the high-level timetable that we're looking at, this was included in the report that you actually had, and you can see we have started some of this work earlier in January and February. So there is work underway, and we are in the process of finalizing some of the pieces into a presentable form that we will bring to you. So all of the work programs that you see up there come through to you, and one of the things I want to determine from today is, through the reference group, what are some of the parameters of how you want that reference group to actually work, and what is your preferred method for things being brought to you. We prefer workshops so we can talk through things. Keeping in mind, workshops are not decision-making mechanisms. You can't make any resolutions, but you can give us direction on how you want us to engage with you. Okay, so, but you cannot make decisions that impact levels of service or have a public facing effect, okay? So one of the things we actually wanted to talk to you about was, when we look at our strategic priorities and our community outcomes, The community outcomes are required in legislation that the whole long-term plan has to focus on the well-being outcomes that were reintroduced into the Local Government Act. And in the last long-term plan, a very comprehensive review of those, which required almost a year's worth of work with the community to help define the new outcomes, was undertaken, and 5 key community well-being outcomes were determined, and underneath those were focus areas for those community outcomes that would help to deliver on the overarching goal. What we actually want you to do is to determine, out of those 23 focus areas, what are your priorities that you want this long-term plan to actually be about. Mayor Nigel and I have discussed this a few times, and I have a very clear indication that there's not a willingness to revisit all of the community outcomes from scratch again. The work has been done, and they are very robust. We still feel they're fit for purpose, but this is your chance to take what has already been built and tweak it to suit for this term of council what in there you want this council to focus on. So to that end, I actually have in your handout, I have something called Poll Everywhere, and you will see I also have our strategic directions, which in your long-term plans is on page 20 and 21. And that lists the outcomes, and it lists the goals and the focus areas underneath all of those outcomes. Now, there's no way we can have 23 priorities. So what I'm looking for is under each one of the well-being outcomes for you to be able to prioritize these. Now, I sent you an email asking you all to bring your smartphones. So what I would like you to do, we have the instructions on the front of this. You are going to log on to something called Poll Everywhere. And what you need to do is download the app. You can either go to the Google Store or you can go to the Apple Store on your cell phone. And you download Poll Everywhere. And when you're asked to join the presentation, what you're going to do is put in the username Vincy Balan 860, exactly as it's written. No space or caps. And I'm sorry for the rest of the room. This is only for elected members because it's up to them to actually determine these priorities. If the app is not downloading on your phone or it's not working, I have actually put the written hard copy there that you can just make notes on if you want to put a number from 1 to 5.
And the ones that are here, you'll send this out.
Yeah. I will send all of this out to the absent members as well so they get an opportunity to engage. Don't enter your name, but you're going to join as a guest because you're going to be anonymous. And what's going to happen as soon as I can log into my computer is I am going to activate each one of these focus areas, and you're going to be able to see it on your phone and be able to, in your own opinion, prioritize what you personally feel should be the top one. So, okay. So, yes, you'll get that at the end. Okay, what we will do... Don't put anything under name, okay? Just enter in as a guest. Okay, so the first one that you're going to see is something called Strategic Priorities for Connected Citizens. Now, if you take a look at this handout from the LTP, how are we doing? You're on? You're on? Awesome. How are we doing, Councillor Oliver? All there. Oh, Linda Marketing. How are you doing, Councillor? Perfect. Okay. So what you're going to do now is you are actually going to be able to touch on those different focus areas and prioritize them. So what you're doing is kind of like just dragging them to the top, what you think should be number one. And the explanation for each one of those focus areas is in this little wee handout there. So what you can actually see right there is if you're open to ideas, sharing stories, enabling the community, fostering iwi relationships, or advocacy and leadership. Which out of those 5 should be number 1, number 2, 3, 4, 5? And you do that and hit enter, and I should be able to actually see the results come up.
Hold your finger down and then it'll appear on the left-hand side and up and down arrow.
Yeah, just if you tap it, it should actually give an indication that you can move it up and down. Yep.
Yeah, look, that's a good point. So we're conscious that we don't have to revisit the whole of this, but if there is things that you just think, actually, because there's new elected members that weren't involved, 3 years ago. So if you're actually looking at this and thinking, I don't, like any of this, do speak up, because it's important that this is a document that we're all on the same page on. So, yeah.
Absolutely, and I think that will be something that when that actually happens, we will be able to work with the reference group as to how we reframe that and what needs tweaking. It's absolutely, this is your document. Okay. And has everybody finished that one? Yep, submit. Okay. Oh, that means you can actually delete what you said. If you want to change, you can delete. I'm now going to activate the one about enhanced lifestyles if you're ready to move on. Okay. Okay, that should appear on your phone right now. Welcome to the 21st century calendar, counselors. We like to use IT technology to its full advantage here, and it's very quick and anonymous decision-making. That's not, well, it's not decision-making from the legal sense. This is just for you prioritizing what you want to focus on for the LTP. When I have everybody's answers, including the counselors who couldn't make it today, we will present these via the reference group in a report to you for confirmation. Okay, let me try activating a new one. I've just activated sustainable environment. Is it back in for you, Your Worship? Okay. Absolutely. I'll tell you what, Councillor Oliver, we'll just keep moving on and then I'll come and help you individually. Is that okay? Yeah.
Just you're ranking them and what you think you and your community would think are the top priorities.
Yeah. Your Worship, I'll work with you too. Okay. I will be counting up the number of responses at the end. We don't want to make this null and void. Okay. And now, diverse economy. Our economic drivers, knowing that we have good economic growth in this district.
Sorry, I hadn't quite finished.
Oh, sorry. I did. I did. I'll go back.
These are big decisions, you know, I'm just trying to make sure.
I'll help all those afterwards because I can go back and set it up that you can do it while I'm, yeah, absolutely. The great thing I see on my screen is the bars going up and down. And can I move on to the last one, folks? Okay. And this is about resilient infrastructure. And that's the conclusion of that. And once you finish with that, I'll finalize those results, send it out to all of you after I have the absent councillors fill in their bits.
And as the Mayor said, if there's anything on that sheet, 2021, that you feel vehemently opposed to in terms of our strategic direction and wellbeing outcomes, please let us know.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What's wrong with this thing?
The HDMI cable keeps
Popping out?
yeah,
Okay.
because the screens get moved too much and then it has an attack of this.
Yes.
Just look the other way.
Yeah, we will.
I'll go and see if I can do some
Jiggery pokery.
IT support.
Okay, I want to move on to talk about activity management plans. Now, for the first time in a few LTPs, they are going to be represented to you. So activity management plans are the building blocks of all the activities council delivers, the levels of service, the performance measures, and the budget allocated. It will raise for you all the flags as to what the issues are that each activity is facing, the challenges for any service delivery, the mechanisms by which they will use to overcome those challenges, and they are useful for you to help prioritize your decision-making as to what you want to approve in your budgets for what will go forward and what will be focused on. We're having just a few IT issues with cable, so I'm sorry if you suffer from migraines, that's not going to help. We can look to the side, but you have all of these slides in handouts and on your laptops. Those are the groups of activities for activity management plans. For your infrastructure activities, they also have asset management plans. They are used as the precursor to the activity management plan. Asset management plans are very comprehensive documents, very large documents with a lot of detail. And for those activities that have them, there will be a link to those asset management plans to support the activity management plans. We will discuss with the reference group how we will engage you in the activity management plan presentations. Personally, from my experience and perspective, having 40 people come in and just give you a PowerPoint over a few days is probably not going to be the best way for you to understand how the council works. Having been a former educator, I understand about attention span, having breaks, and useful information. So we will find a dynamic way to present you with the information so you get out of it something of value, worthwhile, that you can actually use, okay? That just gives you an outline of what you can expect to see in your activity management plans. We'll come closer to that. When we talk about council engagement, this is what we require of you. This is about your commitments and what you will be expected to do at various times over the next year. So for the prep workshops, and there will be a few workshops because this is a very complex project with a lot of moving parts, as you've seen from Trudy's report on the long-term plan. There'll be those various topics in that report that you had from the last committee meeting. It outlined all the topics per workshop. We have all the LTP policies. As I said, the Section 82 policies, that Section 82 under the Local Government Act, that means you don't have to do a full consultative procedure. So they're quicker policies to adopt. They're pretty stock standard. A lot of them relate to your rating policies. So we'll be adopting those prior to the long-term plan. We have draft budgets, workshops, revision, and that means revising budgets or revising activity plans, anything like that. We have a consultation document that we must deliver. You are a key integral part of how we structure that consultation document, what its format's going to be like, and how you front that out in the community. Now, we're in a unique position, this LTP, in that we have former elected members who are actually employed to help you with community engagement. So we're going to be tapping into that expertise, and I'm referring, of course, to Claire Barlow on my right, who's going to support us and help drive a lot of that community engagement. We have Audit New Zealand. There's a long ongoing process. They have already done an interim visit to begin with some of the financial expectations for the financial strategy and some of the high-level forecasting assumptions and other financial assumptions for this LTP.
Audit New Zealand also come through and look at our activity management plans because they're making sure that we're not overcommitting. That Audit New Zealand coming, they will also look at our activity management plans because they're looking to make sure we don't overcommit in terms of projects for delivery to the community. So it's part of that process. And I'll just tap into that an activity management plan remains in draft until the LTP is adopted.
Yeah.
Because it's only a draft activity management plan until you have adopted it.
And one thing I also want to highlight is activity management plans are living documents. So over the course of the 3 years, if there are adjustments made, they will be reflected in those activity management plans. So when they're represented to you for the next LTP, you will see the differences. You have to adopt your draft LTP before the consultation document goes out for the consultation. Consultations normally for the full SCP is about 6 weeks. We hold that in March and April, and then you have your submission hearings and your deliberations, very similar to the annual plan. And then, of course, you have your final LTP adoption. So there, in between all of that, will be those public-facing activities where you're fronting the meetings or activities. We go to AMP shows, we go to school fates, we go to any place where the public is. I've come from a string of councils where we hold community meetings in the community hall at 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night and 4 people attend. So our philosophy is we go to where the people are rather than try and force them to come to a cold hall in the middle of winter. So we will probably look to the reference group to give us some parameters as to what the councillors will be willing to engage with. OJ, I have seen some of the dynamic stuff that you've helped to front for Stephen for some of the council-themed stuff. We will be capitalizing on some of those talents, but you're going to be bringing the rest of the group with you. Yeah. When we go out to the public, any public meetings, you will have every piece of information and all of the expert knowledge there to support you because, as I said at the very start, our job is to make you look good. And so we will make sure you have every piece of information you need and you are so well prepared so you're not caught on the back foot. If somebody comes in with any questions about something and you don't have the answers, that's what we're there for, to take the details so we get back to them, okay? And we do that, okay? That is the end of my 6-slide presentation, folks. So it now comes down to basically trying to find out from the reference group. We've agreed the 4 councillors who will be on that reference group. You made the resolution. I want to know, when would you like to meet? The sooner the better for us, because we're already mid-play and we need to kind of get up to speed with the council and bring you on the journey and get you in the game. That's okay, we're actually counteracting that with our team on our side.
It's balanced.
Just one individual, just probably not Scotty's Japan.
Okay.
Just so everyone's so Scotty, how will you get
Of June or July?
Oh, right. Do you have a preference, reference group to mornings or afternoons or?
Lunchtimes, I know a lot of you are
lunchtimes,
working,
or
so we
What's your
can...
preference? Anytime on a Tuesday?
Yep, we can arrange that. Mornings, Tuesday mornings, we can arrange that. They will not be long, lengthy meetings. I want to...
Hold on.
Probably the most difficult one to work around.
Because of your schedule, appreciate that.
So I'm probably the most difficult. Tuesdays don't always work for me.
No.
I mean, I work 2 Tuesdays in 8 weeks, every 8 weeks, so I'm not too bad either side, but I'll work two Tuesdays in a row.
We'll liaise with all 4 of you.
Yeah, and we're
Yeah.
flexible on venue, so if we
We'll
need
come to your house.
we can vary the place,
Yeah,
if that helps.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just go to bed, we just do
Councillors, I promise you, this is an obstacle we can easily adapt to. So we'll work it out. But as long as I have an indication Tuesday mornings, we'll pick which Tuesday mornings once I liaise with all of you. Okay? Awesome. Thank you for that. We will draft a terms of reference based on what other working parties or reference groups have actually have that presented to the reference group, who will then make the recommendation to the committee to adopt those. Okay? And in that reference group, we'll have very clear delineations as to who will be the public spokesperson if there's any media queries and stuff like that. I personally would probably say Major Tom, sorry, Mayor Nigel, His Worship, because theoretically he leads your team for this project. Okay? So he is our public persona front and center, and then you're the whole team going with him on the journey. Okay, so we'll move on to that. And the last thing I have for you is, do you have any questions for us at this point in time?
Yes.
Everything will be put up on the hub. Absolutely, everything will be put on the hub. Now, I was set the challenge, can you do a presentation in 6 slides? I met that challenge, but they didn't tell me my handouts didn't have to be. So,
Sneaking that in.
yeah, so the handouts I will absolutely put on the hub, but I do have a belief, because when we go to professional conferences, we don't get all of the information up front, but we make sure that we give it to you so you have it. If there's any reading you need to do beforehand, I will absolutely give that to you. But we are trying to encourage the participation, so when people feel that they have the presentation, sometimes they go, oh, we don't need to go, we have all the information, but you miss out on the important stuff. And this is the biggest thing you'll work on this term, I promise you.
Stevie, on the reading, goes without saying, obviously, the sooner we can have it better.
Absolutely.
But if it's, for example, it's leading into the same week as a council, what have you, then you don't want to be competing with it.
Oh, I absolutely agree. This was a urgent workshop pulled together to actually, this is an easy one. It is an easy one. When we get to the comprehensive stuff, especially when we get to the financial strategy and infrastructure strategy, we will carefully time that so that you're not overburdened, because I know it's a long day on Tuesdays.
Just so the appropriate information.
Absolutely agree. And I will make sure that you do get the information in a timely manner, so you won't get it on, like, say, Friday afternoon, if you need to have it done by Tuesday. We'll be fair. So, any other questions that you have? Yes, sir.
I was reading, why wasn't the LTB not adopted before the first year as per the Local Government Act? So we didn't make the deadline last time, is that correct?
That had a lot.
Yeah, we can, yeah. So because in there, that's correct. And I'll refer to what Mr. Dixon said, was that on the day we went to adopt it, at 20, I think it was about 10 to 2, before a meeting at 3 o'clock, the auditor rang me and said, I can't issue the opinion. As someone said to Andrew Dixon, as he was leaving, I heard the auditor pulled your opinion at the last minute. He said, no, they gave us an hour. What they did was they represented to us that, well, we thought we were all good to go, and then there was an issue about how to treat what was called the 90% or the assumption around our program delivery, and whether we had represented that correctly in the long-term plan. And so they wanted to test that further, and so we adopted, I think it was about the 12th or the 14th, because the auditors came and said, oh, we're uncomfortable about the 90% assumption around our program delivery. And so we had thought we were good to go, and then it came back at the last moment, and that's correct. But it was, there were a handful of other councils that didn't adopt. So that's correct that we didn't adopt at that, on that day.
Is there any penalties?
No, not in that case. I mean, it does get problematic, as one or two councils found out, if you're starting to run months and months overdue. In this case, it was really just a technical matter. It didn't have any impact on the delivery or anything like that. And in the event, we're going pretty close to the 90%, actually. We feel like telling the auditors we have a lot, we're getting there. So this year might be a bit different, but for the first 2 years, I think, Andrew, we more or less made it, didn't we? The 90%? Yeah. Yeah, last financial year we've been challenged a bit with delivery, but yeah, well spotted. That was correct, but it was right, and it was right at the 11th hour. Literally, we thought we were all good to go, but we weren't. Yeah, not the audit opinion really does matter. There's no doubt about it. It tells you that you can rely on all of the information contained in here, that it does get a proper grilling. It really is a piece of paper worth having. So
Your opinions are worth having if you get them in a timely fashion.
refer to that on
not
the
a year
annual
after.
report. Yeah, yeah. An annual report, which in reality another financial year will have passed before we get it, and that is far from ideal.
Just quite a bit of detail around the finances. Will we have a chief financial officer to help us with that?
Yes, you will.
Well, yeah, that's fine. Thanks.
Well, brilliant. I think that's it, is it? Thank you.
It is. I'll work individually with councillors who just want to go back and do or I can send you the links if you would prefer that, and you can do it in your own time. I'll send you the links.